Have you ever felt that invisible wall blocking your blessings, especially when you most desperately need them? On Pentecost Sunday, when the Holy Spirit descended upon the apostles in tongues of fire, Padre Pio revealed that certain moments carry a divine opening, a cosmic window where heaven touches earth more tangibly than any other time. This sacred day, often overlooked in our busy lives, holds a mystical power that the humble stigmatic priest from Pietrelcina understood better than most. The wisdom he left behind about these three simple yet profoundly powerful words could be the key that unlocks the floodgates of abundance you've been praying for. Before I share this secret that has transformed thousands of lives, you need to understand something critically important about this teaching from Padre Pio. This isn't just another prayer formula or spiritual technique. It's a sacred covenant between your soul and the divine presence that manifests most powerfully on Pentecost Sunday. The great saint who bore the wounds of Christ for over 50 years, discovered that certain words, when spoken with absolute faith during this holy time, create a spiritual resonance that can shift your reality. His hands, marked with the stigmata, would tremble when he spoke of how these three words could reshape destinies. What Padre Pio understood about the power of Pentecost was something that transcends ordinary religious observance. He saw it as a moment when the veil between the material and spiritual realms grows thin, allowing for extraordinary graces to flow freely to those who know how to receive them. When you recognize the significance of this holy day and approach it with the reverence it deserves, you position yourself at the intersection of divine timing and supernatural favor. The three words that Padre Pio entrusted to his closest spiritual children were not meant to be a secret kept forever, but a treasure revealed at the right time to those whose hearts are prepared to receive their transformative power. The spiritual atmosphere of Pentecost creates a unique condition where your words carry amplified power. Padre Pio often counseled that our prayers on ordinary days are like gentle knocks on heaven's door, but on Pentecost, these same prayers become thunderous declarations that command attention from the spiritual realm. He witnessed countless miraculous transformations in the lives of those who embraced this teaching, people whose financial situations reversed overnight, whose long-standing health conditions suddenly improved, and whose broken relationships were mysteriously restored. The common thread connecting all these testimonies was their willingness to utter these three specific words with unwavering faith on Pentecost Sunday. Your spiritual sensitivity during this sacred time becomes heightened, much like the apostles, who were gathered in prayer when the Holy Spirit descended upon them. Padre Pio explained that the flames that appeared above their heads represented the illumination of divine wisdom and the burning away of limitations. This same fire is available to you when you align yourself with the power of Pentecost through these three sacred words. They function as a spiritual key that unlocks dormant potential within your soul, potential that has always been there but perhaps has remained untapped due to doubt, fear, or simple unawareness of the extraordinary spiritual inheritance that is rightfully yours. The essence of Padre Pio's teaching lies in understanding that abundance is not merely a material concept, but a state of spiritual fullness that inevitably overflows into every aspect of your life. When you experience this overflow, you begin to see evidence of it in your finances, relationships, health, and spiritual growth, like a reservoir that has been filled to capacity and now cannot help but spill over its edges. The abundance that comes through this practice doesn't trickle in reluctantly. It rushes forth with unstoppable momentum. This is why Padre Pio was so insistent that these words be spoken specifically on Pentecost, when the universal conditions are perfectly aligned for such an outpouring. Your ability to receive is directly proportional to your capacity to believe, and Padre Pio understood this spiritual principle better than most. The three words he revealed are not magical incantations, but sacred declarations that align your spirit with divine abundance. They work like spiritual magnets, drawing to you the very blessings you've been praying for, sometimes for years. This saint observed that many people pray continuously but receive little because their prayers lack the focused intention and perfect timing that these three words, spoken on Pentecost Sunday, provide. When you combine precise timing with powerful declaration, you create a spiritual formula that the universe responds to with astonishing precision. What separates those who experience miraculous provision from those who continue to struggle is often just this missing piece of divine wisdom. Padre Pio, with his profound mystical gifts, could see the invisible barriers that prevented people from receiving their blessings. He would often tell his spiritual children that they were standing directly beneath a waterfall of grace, yet remained parched because they didn't know how to open themselves to receive. These three words, when uttered with sincere faith and understanding, become the vessel that captures the abundant flow of divine favor. They create an opening in your spiritual atmosphere through which blessings can pour unhindered. If you believe that this teaching can transform your life the same way it has changed the lives of countless devotees, write in the comments, "I am ready for this blessing." This acknowledgement is more than just engagement. It's a spiritual declaration of readiness, an opening of your heart to receive what God has been waiting to give you. Padre Pio taught that our verbal declarations create spiritual contracts, and by publicly affirming your readiness, you set in motion forces beyond your comprehension. Subscribe to this channel now to ensure you never miss another life-changing spiritual secret that could be the answer to your most fervent prayers. The mystical significance of Pentecost is something Padre Pio contemplated deeply throughout his life of extraordinary spiritual gifts. He understood that just as the apostles were transformed from fearful followers into bold messengers of truth, you too can experience a profound metamorphosis through the power of these three words. Your current circumstances, no matter how challenging, are not your final destination. The saint would often tell those who came to him in desperation that their situation was about to undergo a divine reversal, particularly if they embraced this teaching about the power of words spoken during Pentecost. Your capacity for transformation is built into the very fabric of your being, and Padre Pio recognized this divine potential in everyone he encountered. He compared our spiritual journey to that of a caterpillar becoming a butterfly. The caterpillar doesn't gradually grow wings. It undergoes a complete internal reorganization. In the same way, when you speak these three words with conviction on Pentecost Sunday, you're not merely making incremental improvements to your current reality, you're initiating a total reconstruction of your circumstances from the inside out. The saint witnessed this process time and again in the lives of those who followed this specific guidance. Your words carry creative power. This was a cornerstone of Padre Pio's teaching on spiritual abundance. He often explained that God created the universe through spoken words, and as beings made in the divine image, our words contain a measure of that same creative force. The three words he revealed for Pentecost Sunday harness this power in its most concentrated form, directing it toward manifesting abundance in all its forms. When you understand that your words are not just sounds but spiritual forces that shape reality, you begin to use them with greater intention and care. These particular three words, spoken at the appointed time, become catalysts for miraculous provision. The first pillar of Padre Pio's teaching on the three words of abundance focuses on recognition. The initial word opens your spiritual eyes to see opportunities that have always been present but remained invisible to you. It's like suddenly adjusting the frequency on a radio and hearing a broadcast that was always being transmitted but wasn't tuned in properly. The saint explained that many people pray for new blessings while completely overlooking the abundance already surrounding them. This first word acts as a spiritual lens correction, bringing into sharp focus the provisions that God has already placed in your path. Why is this recognition so vital? Because abundance doesn't always appear in the form we expect. Padre Pio often told the story of a man who prayed desperately for financial help while repeatedly declining offers for well-paying work because they didn't match his expectations. Our preconceived notions about how blessings should look often blind us to the very answers we're seeking. The first word breaks through these limitations, expanding your capacity to recognize divine provision in all its forms. It creates a state of spiritual alertness that makes you receptive to opportunities that others might miss entirely. How can you apply this principle practically? Begin by speaking this first word with genuine gratitude, acknowledging that even before new blessings arrive, you're already the recipient of countless gifts. Padre Pio taught that gratitude is the fertile soil in which the seeds of future abundance take root. As you speak this word on Pentecost Sunday, pair it with an intentional practice of noticing and appreciating the resources, relationships, and opportunities currently present in your life. This isn't merely positive thinking. It's a spiritual exercise that positions you to receive greater blessings by faithfully stewarding what you already have. The second pillar of Padre Pio's teaching centers on reception. The second word creates an openness in your spirit that allows blessings to flow unimpeded. The saint observed that many people have built unconscious barriers to receiving due to feelings of unworthiness or past disappointments. Like a cup turned upside down, they cannot be filled no matter how much is poured out for them. This second, sacred word, when spoken with understanding on Pentecost Sunday, turns your spiritual cup right side up, creating the receptivity necessary for abundance to collect and accumulate in your life. Why does this receptive stance matter so profoundly? Padre Pio explained that the spiritual realm operates according to laws just as consistent as physical laws like gravity. One of these laws is that force cannot enter a closed system. Your willingness to receive is not a passive state but an active spiritual position that requires courage and vulnerability. Many people struggle financially, relationally, or spiritually not because blessings aren't available to them, but because they've closed themselves off to receiving through fear, pride, or past wounds. The second word breaks through these barriers, creating a channel through which divine provision can flow freely. How do you implement this principle in your daily life? Start by speaking this second word on Pentecost Sunday with a physical gesture of receiving, perhaps open hands raised, in expectation. Padre Pio recommended pairing this word with a concrete act that symbolizes your readiness to receive, such as placing an empty vessel on your altar or prayer space as a physical representation of your spiritual receptivity. Then, throughout the following weeks, practice saying yes to help, opportunities and blessings that come your way, even when they arrive in unexpected packages. This practice gradually expands your capacity to receive until abundance becomes your natural state. The third pillar of Padre Pio's teaching revolves around release. The final word creates a powerful liberation from the patterns of lack and limitation that may have defined your past. The saint understood that many people remain trapped in cycles of scarcity, not because of external circumstances, but because of internal constraints they've accepted as unchangeable realities. This third word, when proclaimed with authority on Pentecost Sunday, breaks the chains of restrictive thinking and generational patterns of poverty, setting you free to experience the fullness of divine provision. Why is this release so essential to experiencing true abundance? Padre Pio often explained that our past experiences create grooves in our thinking, default pathways that our thoughts automatically follow unless consciously redirected. If you've lived with scarcity for a long time, abundance can actually feel uncomfortable or even threatening because it's unfamiliar territory. The third word disrupts these established neural pathways, creating space for new patterns of prosperity to take root. It addresses not just your conscious thoughts but the deeper subconscious beliefs that often govern your financial and spiritual reality. How can you activate this principle in practical terms? When you speak this third word on Pentecost Sunday, couple it with a symbolic action of release, perhaps writing down limiting beliefs about money or abundance, and then burning the paper. Padre Pio taught that physical actions can reinforce spiritual declarations, creating alignment between the seen and unseen realms. In the weeks following Pentecost, whenever you notice thoughts of lack or limitation arising, consciously replace them with this third word, allowing its power to dissolve constraining beliefs. This consistent practice of release creates space for new possibilities to enter your life. Your spiritual lineage as a believer connects you directly to the apostles who experienced the first Pentecost, and Padre Pio emphasized this continuity of spiritual power. The same Holy Spirit that descended in tongues of fire 2,000 years ago is available to you today, carrying the same transformative potential. When you speak these three words on Pentecost Sunday, you're not engaging in a new practice, but tapping into an ancient spiritual current that has flowed through generations of faithful people. The saint often remarked that the power available to us isn't diminished by time. If anything, it has accumulated strength, like a river that grows wider and deeper as it flows farther from its source. Your authority to speak these words with expectation comes from this unbroken spiritual heritage. Padre Pio would remind his spiritual children that they weren't orphans begging for scraps, but legitimate heirs entitled to an abundant inheritance. The 3 words serve as a declaration of this birthright, activating promises that have always belonged to you but perhaps remained unclaimed. The saint could see how many believers lived far below their spiritual privileges, like princes and princesses choosing to live as paupers because they've forgotten their royal identity. When you understand who you are in the spiritual realm, these 3 words become not just wishful requests, but authoritative declarations that creation itself must respond to. Your responsibility, having received this teaching, extends beyond personal application. Padre Pio believed that powerful spiritual insights were never given for individual benefit alone, but were meant to create ripples of blessing that extend to others. As you experience the abundance that flows from practicing this teaching, you become a channel through which provision can reach those around you. The saint often observed that those who most powerfully manifested abundance were those who most generously shared what they received. The 3 words create not just an inflow but an outflow, establishing you as a distribution center for divine blessings rather than merely a collection point. Tonight, before you sleep, is the perfect time to prepare your heart for this powerful Pentecost practice. Padre Pio taught that spiritual preparation is as important as the declaration itself. Take a few moments in the quiet of your room to reflect on areas where you've experienced limitation or scarcity. Allow yourself to feel the weight of these challenges, not to dwell in negativity, but to fully appreciate the transformation that awaits. The saint compared this process to a surgeon who must first acknowledge the full extent of an injury before healing can begin. Your honest assessment creates the contrast against which the miracle of abundance will shine all the more brightly. You stand at a decisive moment, holding a spiritual key that has unlocked treasuries of blessing for countless others before you. Padre Pio would often tell those who came to him that divine timing is as important as divine provision. That God not only prepares blessings for us, but prepares us for those blessings. The fact that this teaching has reached you now, perhaps after years of searching or struggling, is no coincidence. The saint believed that certain revelations were held in reserve until exactly the right moment when they could be most effectively received and applied. This teaching about the 3 words of Pentecost has found you at precisely the time when you're ready to receive its full impact. Your journey toward abundant living begins with a single step of faith, speaking these 3 powerful words. Come, Holy Fire. These simple yet profound words, uttered with complete conviction on Pentecost Sunday, invite the purifying and empowering presence of the Holy Spirit to transform every dimension of your life. Padre Pio witnessed how this invocation, when spoken at this appointed time, created a spiritual combustion that consumed lack, illness, and limitation. The fire you call down is not destructive, but transformative, burning away only what hinders. You're flourishing while refining and enhancing everything that leads to your highest good. Don't wait for perfect circumstances or complete understanding. The power lies not in your perfection, but in your sincere participation. The sacred fire of Pentecost awaits only your invitation to begin its work of miraculous